If I'm going to be the president today, agriculture and mining will be compulsory. And you won't get a job without agriculture and mining.
Cellphone farming is something else that is killing the farming community. You want to farm, Jerry, from the office, from your phone. You are making sure that the driver has delivered the chemicals on time, but the follow-up is not there. Foot on the ground. There's no substitute for feet on the ground.
There's now a norm whereby if you look for someone on a Friday or a Monday, they'll say, Jerry, hey, I'm going to farm. I'm getting it. I'm at the farm.
Yeah.
Then you start questioning now. Because I've asked people, is this farm, do you even know how much you're making from the farm? Zero.
I believe that Africa has the potential to feed herself in time if we just employ the right farming practices, embrace new modern farming technologies, become more climate smart.
Hello Africa, it's Jerry Zungu, the Chartered Vendor here. Welcome to your favorite podcast, the Chartered Vendor Podcast, where we bring entrepreneurs, where we bring people who are doing well in business, people who are running companies at managerial level, people who can share with us the stories which are happening in Africa as far as business is concerned. And today I've got a favorite topic. Just about 2-3 weeks ago, we had Mkoma Kosi talking about mining, but today I'm super excited because I've got someone who's going to talk about the backbone of Africa. Food industry, agriculture. Welcome, Madam Wendy Madzura. She's the chief agronomist of SIDCO. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jerry. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
How has been Africa doing? Because I've noticed that you're now, it's no longer Zim now. It's now Africa.
Oh, yes. It has been quite an enlightening experience to just see the level of agriculture activities that are happening across Africa, where you see that the potential, Jerry, I must say, is more than what is currently happening on the ground.
Okay.
I believe that Africa has the potential to feed herself in time if we just employ the right farming practices, embrace new modern farming technologies, become more climate smart. So as you are moving around, the more the languages differ, the more we remain the same in some of the practices we are doing in our farming. So it's quite interesting to see that as you move down, coming to Southern Africa, where Zimbabwe is, you find your Zambia, your Malawi. So you find that these regions, they have a rainfall pattern which will range from about 4 months to about 5 months, 3.5 months, give or take, depending. But then it's still sufficient to grow a crop successfully and harvest.
Exactly.
But then as you go to the Central African regions, you go to East Africa, the rainfall endowment improves. And also their seasons, they are different as well. I didn't know that there is a season that can start from March and end around October in Kenya. Kenya, if you go to Eldoret there, if you go to some of the other places that are up there, they have a very good rainfall season that is quite long and prolonged.
Okay.
And when you
like countries like Nigeria.
Oh, yes. When you get to your Nigeria now and the countries in West Africa, Uganda, they are currently, when we get into the planting season down here, up there, they are already harvesting.
Serious?
Yeah, they're already harvesting. They start their season around June. So the variations in Africa allow for us to produce throughout the year, which is to say, as a continent, we should be food self-sufficient, enough to be able to even be trading amongst ourselves, the different food items we have. So it's very, very possible. And I believe that with the irrigation capacity as well, there's a lot that can be done. Amazing soils are there out there. You know, if you go to Tanzania, to Kenya, they have some very rich alluvial soils. So when I arrived there initially, I was wondering, these guys, they don't use a lot of fertilizer. They use a bit of straits from time to time. Some of them have been farming on those pieces of land over and over again without coming in with fertilizer. But then I realized that the soils are a bit richer. But then that doesn't remove again the element of them needing to be aware of the need to be sustainable in their farming enterprises.
Okay.
They also need to embrace soil conservation, soil nurturing, so that it keeps giving what is giving to the population they have currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You were mentioning something like Africa can. which means we are not, isn't it?
Yes.
In terms of our food security, we are still found wanting.
Yeah.
According to your experience, because we are no longer talking about Zimbabwe only, you've now experienced a lot of countries. Malawi, I've seen you in Malawi, I've seen you in Mozambique, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, etc. What do you think is the biggest problem? Where are we getting it wrong? Because we've been talking about this for years now.
Indeed.
And I'm glad that we now have someone who is talking about farming at that level, also making... I heard there's someone who said Wendy Madzura has managed to make farming look sexy.
Interesting.
There's someone who commented a comment to say, no, this lady, I've seen that comment several times. I think you've seen it as well.
I've seen it.
So the question now is, people are now like, I think farming is good. I can now get into farming. I take farming as a career. Where do you think we're missing it as Africa? Why do we remain a basket case, not providing the basket to the whole world?
So, you know, what I think and what I feel strongly has impacted us is our heritage. You know, growing up, everyone has some link and some association with some kind of agriculture activity where it is being done at a subsistence level. So it being done at that level, no one has really taken time to then say, if people are eating every day and come 2030, we're going to have such a number of people in terms of growth. No one has taken time to educate the African populace to say, this is a business and people are going to eat. If there is anything that is constant, is that people are increasing in number.
Definitely.
And change is something that is also quite constant. So we really need to keep evolving in terms of our eating habits. So in terms of, like, now people are becoming more health conscious. But then as a continent, we have not really embraced agriculture as a business. That's one. As a business, in the sense that not in the sense that you want to sell per se, but even to be self-sufficient as a family. It means if you are self-sufficient, those resources that you were going to use to buy food, you are now using to do other things as a family. But then to go beyond that, to say, okay, we have produced enough as a family, but now let's think about the next person. Let's think about the next country. Let's think about the next couple of years. What are we going to be eating? What are we going to be producing? So we are lacking in terms of the appreciation of taking farming as a business. That's one. The second thing is, as Africa, we are primary producers mostly. We are at the lower end of the agriculture value chain, where we are just producing to consume immediately. The concept of value addition is not there. We are not seeing yogurts. We are not seeing ice creams. We consume biscuits. We don't even know where chocolates are coming from. But it's very, very important for us to know as a continent that with our food, it also has to come from somewhere. But then we need to take it a step further. You know, there's a lot of food wastage that happens. There are a lot of videos that do the rounds on social media when you have some mangoes that are rotting, you have some tomatoes. Someone is saying, I had to feed my cabbages to cattle because no one was buying. But then it means people are not thinking outside the box to say, what if I just cut up some small pieces of that cabbage, put a little carrots, put a little onion, put it in a small little paper and buy a sealer and then write the name Wendy cabbage there and sell it. That small little mufushwa cabbage, that dried cabbage, can sell for $3, $5.
Can sell for, it's more money
than the whole cabbage head. So that element of value addition is also not there. That's two. The other thing is, as a continent, in terms of climate change, we have been hammered on left, right, and center. But what we need to do is to embrace mitigation strategies. So the different governments across Africa, I think what we are doing is we are not looking at this holistically. To say, as a continent, what can we then do in terms of our resources, what we have? How can we capacitate our farmers, the ones that are being affected by irrigation but are in a productive area? Can we give irrigation to them, irrigation capacitation? Can we harness and harvest the water? I tell you, the amount of rainfall that Africa receives, if we were going to be able to just harvest just a third of it, would be able to be sufficient throughout the year. Where I was telling you that there are some countries that when we are in winter here in down south, it's raining there. They are in summer. Some areas don't even get a lot of cold winters. So we could harness and harvest this water and make it usable for the longer term. The other thing is we are not even investing in modern technologies. Africa is endowed with sunshine. But with the amount of sunshine we have, how many solar plants do you know in Africa? that are supporting agriculture
Very
activities.
few.
We could be able to even power all the industries we have in Africa. Maybe not all, but most of them, just by harnessing that solar
the
energy.
solar energy.
So the concept of even using solar in farming, it's a concept that has not been fully embraced because it helps if we are able to use solar. It's renewable energy. It's energy that's more durable and sustainable in the long run. So it becomes cheaper on the cost structure to say if you're going to be using energy that is renewable, that is also environmentally friendly, you are not relying on other sources of energy that might be depleting the quality of the environment that you are also farming. That might be resulting in deforestation or things like that. So as a continent, we also need to embrace the resources that we have and utilize them. Imagine if Africa had, the 3-month, 4-month snow windows. I always tell people that we wouldn't be here. I don't know if we were going to be able.
God knew.
I doubt if we were going to be able to adapt. I know necessity creates innovation, but I worry about Africa. Were we going to be able to evolve?
At one point, you're in America, I think.
Yes.
You see their houses. They're supposed to. Yes, they're supposed to have heaters around the houses.
Without heaters or solar systems,
what
you
would
won't
happen
be
to
able
Africa
to.
without electricity?
Those people, they live. Those people in the developed countries where there's snow. They live for that 4 to 5 month window of production. But they are producing enough to export and feed us.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it
maize
means,
is coming from Belarus, Russia.
Russia is even colder than that. So as a continent, I think the onus is on us. It's actually also a mindset shift. We need to believe in ourselves as Africans. We need to know that we have the potential. We do not need anyone else to come from elsewhere to come and give us solutions. We need to devise our own solutions, innovate, and we need to think without borders. Because the moment we start thinking, no, in my small corner, I have enough for this year, then we are not going anywhere. We really need to think outside the box. I like the way Zimbabwe has embraced the concept of exporting. Like this year, they produced 2025. Zimbabwe produced excess wheat, but the idea is that once we have excess wheat, we need to export to other countries. And then I was also hearing that we also sent some aid in terms of grain and other items to Malawi recently. And then I also heard that Zambia also helped Malawi with some grain aid as well. So the moment we come together as a continent, I tell you, our agriculture has the potential to change the fortunes of Africa going forward. Africa is going to become the hub of the world. But it's a deliberate decision. We need to be deliberate about it. We need to be willing to put in the work. And no one is going to come and fix our home for us. Africa is our home.
It will be fixed by us.
Yes, and we need to love our continent.
Yes. So you've raised a lot of issues and which are profound. But I want to take you back. There's an issue which you raised initially, which you're talking about our brains were wired to do subsistence farming. I've been interacting with a lot of business people, company owners, entrepreneurs, people are doing well, managers, people in the C-suite. There's now a norm whereby if you look for someone on a Friday or a Monday, they'll say, Jerry, I'm going to farm. Are you getting it? I'm at the farm.
Yeah.
Then you start questioning now. Is this farm? Because I've asked people, is this farm? Do you even know how much you're making from the farm?
Yeah.
Zero. And this person is investing a lot of time because some of the farms are in Bindura, some of the farms are in Beatrice, some of the farms are in Mazoe, but these guys are going to the farm. If you even ask even the hectareage, they don't even know.
Yeah.
If you ask even how much are you making from those goats, they don't know. So, what can they do? How can we start treating farming not as a hobby, but as a business? Because these guys are the ones who are occupying farms. These are the people who got farms during the that land reform program. But if you notice, most of the farms are idle. Most of the farms are being underutilized. Most of the farms are being owned by people who are occupying big offices here, but they're not there on the ground. But if you notice, in the 80s, when we were white farmers, they used to be on the farm for the farm to be productive. What can be done for us to treat farming seriously? That's why you notice that even most of the politicians, if people, big guys in the big offices, if they are removed from politics today, if they're owning 5 farms which are doing well, after one season, those farms are now idle.
That's true.
What can be done? How can we remove this mindset of treating it as a subsistence farm?
Thank you so much. You have raised a very, very pertinent issue. And it was being discussed recently on one of the agriculture think tanks that is available, to say the notion that when people got these farms, they got a retirement home, they got a place to build their new village or to just go and relax with their family. We need to move out of that concept. It's time. It's already late. And what then happens is that cellphone farming is something else that is killing the farming community. You want to farm, Jerry, from the office, from your phone. You are making sure that the driver has delivered the chemicals on time, but the follow-up is not there. Foot on the ground. There's no substitute for feet on the ground. And I'm happy that you say the way the white commercial farmers used to do it. I'm happy to say confidently that there are some black commercial farmers who are doing equally well, but they've managed to embrace 2 things. The fact that with farming, it's a business. And in any business, your time is important, your resources are important. So if you are going to put your resources into something, you need to make sure that the return is also coming out. So those farmers who are farming well, be they black commercial farmers, white commercial farmers, one thing that they do right is that they are on the ground, almost 365. They are always there. I always talk to some of the commercial farmers in my space, in my network, to say, whenever do you take a holiday? But then they are saying, no, we are planting this, we are harvesting, we are spraying. But they have the resources to have people do it for them. But nothing is as important as doing things yourself and understanding the why. Because if you know the why, it will justify what you're going to do. For example, I'm a farmer, small scale at some initially. Now I want to believe I'm a medium scale, advancing to commercial. Having done, I think this year about 20 hectares of maize, like I was telling you earlier on. And
45 hectares.
Yes, and on sorghum, it's about 45 hectares of sorghum, red sorghum.
And I like sorghum.
So that element of taking it as a business for me, I sat down and I said, okay, so if I'm going to do sorghum, there's white sorghum, there's red sorghum. But the market that I am targeting, that is going to give me a higher return, will favor the red sorghum. So maybe let me do more of the red sorghum because it will go into the beer brewing and it will give me a higher chance of offsetting that crop later on. So had I the mindset of subsistence, I was going to say, no, maybe let me just grow whatever is available. I then went and I bought the best seed on the market, the best red hybrid seed on the market. So the other thing is our farmers, they don't take farming as a business. They think these places are retirement places or leisure places. And they also cut corners. Cutting corners. They want to stretch thin the resources that they have. They have resources that are enough for them to produce a 10-hectare block. You find them telling you that, no, that is 8 bags or 7 bags or 6 bags of basal fertilizer. Go and apply it on 20 hectares per hectare.
But it's supposed to be on 10.
Yeah, it's supposed to be on 10 hectares. So it's an issue to do with people thinking that with farming, you can cut corners and get away with it, which is not the case. As is the case with any business. If you are going to build a house and you are not going to put the proper and strong foundation, maybe it's a wetland, you don't put the reinforcement that is required, it will fall in a short space of time. So people are not getting the return that they should because they are not investing in the technical expertise. They are not investing in the right inputs. They are not investing the time that is required. On the technical expertise, like you're saying that you have friends that will be saying, no, we're going to the farm. They go to the farm. They didn't even do land use planning. Exactly. So they don't even know which area requires what element or enterprise. I was happy to talk to one medical doctor who was telling me that on their farm, they've also bought a farm, which is a trend, like you're saying. They actually have drone technology. They hired people to come in and map the farm. And after mapping, they were told that area will need a bit of work. They will need to put a bit of nutrition enhancers as well, soil conditioners like pH enhancers. So maybe start with this block. It's a better block. But then when you're working on that block, do ABC, drone mapping. That's the extent to which people have gone to understand first what is on the ground for them to go into it as a business. So really, I think it's just a mindset shift.
It's a mindset shift.
Yeah, I think it's in the wiring, the way we were raised. To think, no, I was just growing maize at the backyard of our house, at our village there in Chinoi.
So
I was just growing
just
maize.
do
Yes,
whatever.
at your beautiful home that you were showing me there. You grew up there. You'd go in, you'd do manual weeding.
Exactly.
So we really need to remove that element. And then moving across Africa, you also see that there are some countries that think they are doing commercial, but they've not adopted the technologies that allow them to do so. You find someone doing 100 hectares manually without using mechanization.
No planters. No
yes. And then you also find them also coming in with manual weeding. When there's boom sprayers, they have the capacity, the resources are there. So I also think there is a knowledge gap that is there that I think extension can also meet, where we also need to inform and capacitate our people to know that, no, if you're going to come in with these technologies, they are also going to save you on time value of money, because they also give you the efficiency that then drives your farming as a sustainable business. Because if it's a business and you have a crop that you want to weed for 20 days, when you come in with a boom sprayer that will spray for 2 hours, then you're done. So it then affects you. It has a ripple effect on your farming enterprises. Okay. But I must say, over the past couple of years, Jerry, I've seen a shift. There's a renewed interest, especially in young people who are now seeing that, no, okay, our parents got this land. We need to use it to make it viable. So there are a lot of young people who are doing well out there. Yeah. And they are diversifying into enterprises like even orchards. Some are even doing horticulture for export.
I met someone who was doing bananas.
Oh, you see?
200
bananas. Yeah. And recently I met someone who is actually doing some silage grass. Some grass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, growing it and getting it at a higher return.
It used to be done by white farmers.
And livestock also, we are seeing that there is an interest in dairy farming, beef farming. So, yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, but looking at that, because I'm writing my book, Miseducated Africa, and I've noticed the trend, and it's one of the chapter in my book, whereby at school, when I went to school, agriculture was for the B or C class. The A class wasn't even encouraged to do. It wasn't there, agriculture for the A class.
You're right.
For the A class, they were told to do physics, chemistry, mathematics. Then for the C class, that's where agriculture was done.
Oh, yes.
And as we were promoted to drop, I think agriculture was the one which had a very low turnout in terms of students, because most of the people drop, because agriculture sometimes as part of they'll say your project, you need to do a compost, etc. So most of the people say no agriculture, no.
You need to brush a pig.
Exactly. And if you notice also, if at our school where I went at Mariste Brothers, if we're punished, even at Artisan where I also went, if we're punished, being put in the field was a sort of a punishment. So we were wired to think that getting into a field, even at home, is sort of some punishment.
Yeah.
So how do you also think our education systems, do they promote, because we're looking at it and we're saying agriculture is the backbone of our African economy.
Yeah.
But now we also, when we've got at school now, we're leaving the best students to drop agriculture. But you see what is happening with life now. Those best students, that medical doctor, he now has his surgery, has made money. The first, I think just an hour ago, I had one of the doctors who is doing about 85,000 chickens.
Wow.
Now, this intelligent doctor, and I tell you, for him to reach 85,000, he was bent along the way.
Exactly.
Why was he being bent? He never did agriculture at school, because it was for those average students. But the question now is, if you notice also, even these smart politicians, lawyers, everyone will end up eventually into agriculture.
Yes.
So what can be done to our education system? Because in the book I'm saying, if there's a subject which must be compulsory in Africa, must be agriculture.
You're right. You're right. And I'm happy that you are bringing it up. And I'm looking forward to reading it in the book as well, and the ideas that you have. So I think the Zimbabwean government has gone a step ahead, where the education 5.0, is it 5.0?
The 5.0,
Yes, that one is being more practical than more theoretical as it was in the past, where we are seeing now that our children are getting projects, where they're asked to do projects, school projects that they come with, and then these are actually marked, and these children are taught to be hands-on, to get their hands dirty from an early stage. But there's still more that needs to be done. You are right. Because with agriculture, that mindset shift has been with us for a very long time, to think that no, this is a career of last resort. But then it would mean we need to redefine the word intelligent. What is intelligent?
Exactly.
It means intelligence, the way we were measuring it, to some extent was biased. And it was leaving some people, unfortunately others, those with the low self-esteem, would be crushed forever. But those people had other skills that they could develop. So I'm happy that the curriculum that is coming up is looking at other skills that are not just your ability to cram or your ability to reproduce what is written in a textbook that was written somewhere where you don't even know.
Exactly.
So we need an education system that supports local content, local contexts, things that relate to things that are happening on the ground for us locally. And that practical element of agriculture is now coming up. And we are seeing an interest which is renewed in the youth, like I was telling you. But we really need to be deliberate to make sure that young people, even as early as ECD,
exactly.
They are appreciating as they are playing outside there. They are appreciating, maybe they are removing weeds. Sometimes by accident, even removing the plants. But that's how we learn. Yeah, that's how we learn. And we really need to also embrace agriculture as a business, in the sense that it also has a scientific element in it, where the science in agriculture is the one that is going to take us from the place where we are now, even in the face of climate change, to mitigation. So that mindset that you need people maybe of relatively or seemingly lower IQ, depending on what you are measuring, is now we need to brush it off and remove it. Because you'd find that with agriculture, there are calculations. You go to agriculture engineering, there is also the element of banking. There's there, a lot of things, bookkeeping, business, those molecules that are there in agriculture, agrochemistry. There's biology. There's breeding, from where I come from in the seed space. There's breeding efforts that are coming in to take that element and that and mix it.
Agriculture is a combination of almost every subject.
Exactly.
Mathematics is in, science is in.
Indeed.
But if you look at it now, you've mentioned something crucial. 5.0, yes, it's there. But our schools now, do you know what they're doing? Most of the private schools are now doing Cambridge.
Oh, yeah.
3 subjects. Primary students are now just doing 3 subjects. And what they're trying to do is to run away from the fundamentals. Things like, suppose in the book I'm saying, if I'm going to be the president today, agriculture and mining will be compulsory.
Yeah.
And you won't get a job without agriculture and mining. Why? Because that's where our economy is. It's not even in Zimbabwe only. You look at Zambia, you look at Malawi, most of our continent.
Yeah, even if you go further up there, Tanzania,
it's agriculture.
Kenya,
It's agriculture. But anyway, it's a story of another day. And now
I'm sure you're going to unpack it in the book.
I was writing that book with a lot of emotions.
Oh yes.
Because we cannot continue working on the same, because if you notice our curriculum, what people don't know is when the guys who took the colonizers were deliberate about everything.
You are right.
So even including our education was deliberate. If you notice, even in our schools, even at school, you notice that you'll be punished for speaking in your language, Shona. And speaking in English was mandatory. But
I actually remember you would get a Shona speaker's card.
Exactly.
And everyone would be laughing at you.
They were laughing at you, are getting it. So we grew up hating ourselves. But if you look at it, even like what you're saying, even at our school, you'd get punishment for speaking in Shona. But I'm looking at it to say, no, fine, it's a sort of another day. We'll keep on pushing and advocating. Because I strongly believe that even if agriculture is going to be taught in Shona, I like it when you do those Shona programs. it should be flowing in native language, Shona. Unpacking everything, English. Making it simple for the farmer. Are you getting it? And it helps. Because why? It makes it simple. But anyway, you have touched on a crucial issue, which we cannot escape in this current environment. Technology.
Yeah.
And how are the farmers across Africa, you talked about here in Zimbabwe, how are they embracing tools like AI? We now have AI.
Oh, yes, we do.
What used to, sometimes when I would have to call Wendy to say, no, I think my maize is turning a little bit of purple. What's happening? What's the disease? But right now with AI, you can take a picture, send it to ChatGPT. It will tell you that you have to, and it will also give you a remedy.
Oh, yes. So what's happening across Africa is that our levels of adoption of technology are different. Where with some countries, we've kind of adopted more than others. But looking at the agriculture space specifically, you find that the level of adoption is mostly with the commercial farmers that are in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia. And we also have some very good commercial farmers that are in Kenya. Some parts of Weka as well. A small percentage, because I think it's about 5% of the farmers that are in Tanzania who are on the commercial side. It's mostly small scale. But I think as a continent, most of our farmers are still on the small scale side, where we really need to impart some knowledge on them, on some basic technologies that are available. Technology is not always heavy-duty equipment. Technology can just be a new advanced seed technology that is able to withstand a long period of drought, that is able to withstand acidity, that is able to maybe to withstand some pressures that might come in because of the unforeseen weather vagaries that exist nowadays. But then the notion is that the moment you say tech, before you finish technology, people are already thinking it's a heavy-duty tractor, it's a heavy-duty sprayer or things like that.
There are a lot of computers.
So we really need to demystify that notion that technology comes at a very high cost. Technology comes at a very high, there's need for you to part with a lot of money for you to get technology. So as Africa, we do have some farmers who have embraced it. But we also have some farmers who are still coming up. But in terms of the digital space, in terms of the social media space, we are seeing that in terms of adaptation, it also differs by country. I was surprised when I was in Kenya in August when they were having a couple of their field days in the areas where it was raining, to find the shoshos there. The shoshos are the grandmothers. So you find the shoshos there. We were asking, how many of you are on TikTok? Everyone's hand was up.
Wow.
How many of you? Yes. How many of you are on Facebook? Everyone's hand was up. But it's also because I think in terms of technology, Kenya
has adopted technology really better than most of the African.
And then when you go to other regions that maybe take English as a third language, so technology also adoption becomes a bit slower. But I believe that once we crack that technology as a continent, we are really going to go far. Because even in terms of information dissemination, it becomes easier. I always talk to my agronomists scattered across Africa to say, the event that you are going to have in deep rural areas, if you are going to take that event and amplify it to the whole world, the whole globe, using technology, it is going to have a ripple effect, which is quite massive. And we can also just grow that space in a short space of time. So it's very, very important, I think, that you are raising technology. But then the other hindrance is that, with technology, sometimes some of the technologies that come up, they might not be user-friendly for small-scale farmers. Whereby nowadays we are seeing that there are some small-scale farmer tractors that are coming up. There is that drill for the Fumvudza that is coming up. So I implore on the tech companies as well, the mechanization companies, to think of technologies that suit the small-scale farmer. Because our continent has more small-scale farmers. So if they are going to adapt these technologies, some hindrances are the fact that they don't even have the capacity yet to adopt some of those big fancy technologies that are there. But the moment they start gradually, they will grow to that extent as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, we've touched enough, I think, on the farmers. Now coming back to you. And I've noticed the gospel on farming on LinkedIn, on Facebook, TikTok. How are the people embracing it? And I've noticed that you're passionate about it. A day hardly passes by. Do you finish a day without posting?
I try not to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the gospel, what's the end goal?
Okay.
Why are you doing what you're doing? Because sometimes people, they'll just think that you just want to post, but why are you doing what you're doing? And do you have testimonies of people who have said, no, Wendy, thanks so much. I now have this because of what you said on this.
On that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think you have raised a very, very important question. And that's why I like coming to this podcast, because it's so real and practical.
Yeah.
So what I have learned in my life is that if the why is big enough, the how will take care of itself. So for me, I'm quite pained when I see farmers failing to get what they're supposed to get. Currently, the national average of maize sits at around between 1 or 2, give or take, depending on season, tons per hectare. It was at around 0.8 a few years ago, but some work has gone into it and it has increased a bit. So I believe that information is there. But as much as information is there, you'll be surprised at the level of information gap that is there, out there. People are hungry for information. But people are not only hungry for information, people are hungry for the right practical information. Because theoretical information is there, you can Google it anytime. But people relate more to some practical experience. People relate more to seeing their farmer, their neighbor farmer doing it, to seeing their cousin down there in Matabeleland South in Lupani doing it. They relate more. So as people, naturally, we learn more from experiences of others. So I feel that the more I share my experience, I also capacitate that next person who's not able to reach that level and see what is happening on the ground. So I've taken it a step further to the extent that even in my farming enterprise, I'm not perfect. No one is perfect. But I try my best to make sure that at least the learnings that I get, I get my fingers bent. There's a season I lost everything.
I was going to ask about
that. But I keep coming back. And that season, I keep referring to it.
How much
because
did you lose?
I lost a lot because I had established about 30 hectares in total and on a loan facility. And it was that dry year. And to top it off,
I know that the year which was dry.
So the maize was looking good, nice. It tilled and everything. Now when it was supposed to get into the grain filling and cob formation, the rains just went forever. And then I started doing firefighting. So there's a bit of irrigation there where we are farming, but it was not used for a very long time. So you really needed to bring in a few pipes from there to buy a pump. I bought a 70 horsepower pump. I brought it there. I went to some irrigation friends. I borrowed some irrigation guns and everything. But that, to cut a long story short, that didn't come to fruition at some point because of other issues. So I lost on trying to capacitate that crop to be irrigated, which it couldn't. And the money that I had put in did not come back. Then I lost because I also had this loan facility. And the other thing that also happened. Yes. The other painful thing is that this was my first year going large scale. I was on the small scale side, having done about 5 to 7 hectares before. So I thought this was my break. This was the year that I was going to make it big in agriculture and I'm going to tell everyone. I jumped from that 7 to 30. Imagine some of the mistakes of farming. So I take that as a learning opportunity and I want someone out there not to have to pay the school fees. So that's why I go out there and constantly tell and share my experiences. And I will be telling you as it is on the ground. Like this year, Jerry, you know what happened? We planted our crop. We had our pre-emergent herbicide, which is applied soon after planting. Everything was there. And then 30 minutes after we finished planting our last block, it started raining. It rained for a continuous 6 days. And within that 6 days, the maize was emerging now.
Wow.
I couldn't go in with the pre-emergent herbicide. The maize came out, the weed came out, all at the same time. But I told the farmers out there to say, this is what happened, because it happened to another farmer. But then you also want to conscientize them that these are real problems.
It happens.
Yeah. And then we came in early with a post-emergent herbicide. Now the crop is clean, it's weed-free. And it's almost my height, looking very happy and flourishing. So I'm driven to want to, I'm a people person. On my Gallup strengths or my Clifton strengths, there is empathy. There is, I'm an arranger as well. I'm just a passionate person about seeing the next person do better. And so I'm a sympathizer and I'm an includer. So I want the growth that I'm also experiencing to be someone else's growth. Someone else's story inspires me. And yes, there are a lot of testimonials. My phone is always flooded with, mutumeni zvasodai, zvasoendane apa, zvakadai. So. And now it's funny to see that I even have testimonials from other countries.
Wow.
So funny story, when I was going to Malawi, I bought the airplane. Then I sat down with this lady. I didn't even know her. So we just started chatting. You know, I'm a chatty person. I'm a people person. On my colors, I'm actually a bright yellow. So I am chatting with this lady, and then by the time we got there, she's actually saying, my husband is a farmer in Malawi, but she was going to Zambia. So when you go, please visit my husband. So when she was now giving me the number to say, call him and find out, then she gave me this number and said, I know this person. He's actually one of our farmers in Malawi. I said, oh, okay, interesting. So it's a small world. I met this lady. And then she went out. So we had a layover of about 30 minutes. The other gentleman walks up and comes and says, are you Wendy Madzura? I said, no, yes, I'm Wendy Madzura. I know you. I'm so happy to meet you. I'm also a farmer. Please visit our farm, you know. Then I actually went to visit that farm, only to find out that it was the former defense minister's husband who had invited me to their farm.
Wow.
And they are doing a large acreage of seed and commercial cropping. And actually, I got myself a bag of rice from Malawi. But these are just some of the few testimonials. Yeah, they're famous.
But there are plenty. There's plenty of information to share.
Oh,
Client customers are the people are coming to your page. So the pages are making a lot of social media is making a change.
Yeah,
it's not an equalizer. It's a great equalizer. Because previously, you waited to be called radios, Star FM, 80s, but now you can broadcast from anywhere.
From anywhere. From any time. At any time. To the extent that even at the hotel where I was staying, the lady who was there, she saw me. She said, are you Wendy Madzura? Then I said, yes, I'm so happy to see you. I was seeing you yesterday. You were with the chief, because I also visited the chief in Malawi. Yeah. Because, I believe that Ubuntu starts with embracing your roots. Your roots. So we really take value in the, traditional leadership. So she was very excited. She asked for a picture. I took a picture. Now I can't go anywhere without getting pictures. So I'm always picture ready.
Yeah. Now a celebrity. So talking to the, what you've also highlighted, the mistakes which you've also made as a person, and the lessons which you're also learning that you should on scale from 7 to 10. And with all this, yes, I know, and with all this fame, it also comes with challenges. Yeah. What kind of challenges do you also get? Or you've just chose to say, no, I'll embrace the... Because at one point I was listening to Vusi Tembekwa, you know him, and they was talking about when you're popular, people, they wait for that one day.
Oh, yes.
And I think Vusi had a day when his wife sued him in the courts that he had beaten his wife, and he won that case. So he was narrating it, and it was very emotional. I was listening to him. I always learn from other people. So I'm also saying, as you, what are the other challenges which you face as a people person, public person? What happens? How do you also deal with those issues?
No, thank you so much. And thank you for raising that Vusi issue as well. I also saw it quite emotional. So I don't know what has happened to us as a people, where we thrive on negativity. We thrive on, someone's downfall. We pride on that. But being in the public domain, you try your best to live up to a certain standard. But people should not expect expect perfection, because no one is perfect. So in that, I've allowed myself to say, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to live an honest life. And I also want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, at least I'm living within the confines of the ethical space of things that I should be doing. So, yeah, I think being popular also comes with its challenges. You can't be free where you want to go and hang out with your family, and you can't have time for your family as well. But I still believe that, nonetheless, I've decided to embrace that fame together with the challenges that it comes with. One of the big challenges that it comes with is the fact that I'm also a mother, Jerry. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a child, I'm a daughter. But then the level of time that I dedicate to the work that I do, because of the drive that I have in me, sometimes might also affect the time that I'm also dedicating to people who are important to me, which I hope that in time they'll also be able to understand and appreciate. But it's not easy. But one thing that I have done is I've decided to forgive myself. Because the moment you fail to forgive yourself for not being there, maybe you won't be able to attend every play date. Maybe you won't be able to attend every event, every funeral. You're in Kenya. I'm a Murora, and from the African culture, Murora, So you need to forgive yourself. I want to speak to someone out there who feels that I'm taking up too much and trying to do everything. At some point, you need to forgive yourself, identify the areas that you want to run with and run with them. Otherwise, if you want to just do everything, you will end up shortchanging what your potential was going to be.
Exactly. Thank you so much. That was profound. And probably my last question. and like what you've said, I think I've explained it, because you cannot be everywhere, and sometimes you need to forgive yourself. And I think there's someone has said most of the biggest ideas are in the cemetery, whereby you need to live your life and say, sometimes you need to sacrifice your family to also change the world, because everyone will change the world to make a sacrifice, from Jesus Christ, from Mother Teresa, from even for someone to be president, sometimes is to sacrifice his family. So thank you for highlighting that. But I just want to know, in 2026, what can Africans expect from Wendy Madzura? I know that you're hearing this for the first time. I know that she's writing a book.
Oh, yes.
And this book is going to be very popular in Africa. I haven't read a book from an agronomist.
I don't think they are. Most of them are technical books that are saying A, B, C,
exactly. They are very technical books. But now this is a book which is talking about the African story. The story, she can share more on what are going to be the contents in the book, and what can they expect in 2026 as your parting shot on this podcast.
Thank you so much. So I've been inspired by Jerry quite a lot over the years, reading his books, going through his podcast and what he has shared. So I'm quite humbled that I'm sitting here, not only as a guest, but as one of Jerry's mentees, because he's my mentor. So I'm going to be writing a book, and I'm going to make this book as practical as possible, sharing my experiences, my journey. So the first book is going to cover who I am, who is Wendy Madzura, so that at least as we make the series of books that are going to follow, you have the footing, you understand where it's coming from. So that's also going to be coming up. But also exciting news to share as well, breaking news. I've just been promoted as well.
Wow.
To the role of public relations manager for Sitco Zimbabwe.
Wow.
Which is to say I'll be carrying my two hats. Proudly, I'll still be the head of agronomy for Sitco Africa, but I will be the head of public relations for Sitco Zimbabwe. a task that I'm taking so personally, being a Zimbabwean. I'm going to really give it my all to make sure that, I add value to the farmer, to everyone who is also just going to everyone I'm going to interact with.
Wow.
So I owe that to the people-centric organization that I work for. They identify talent. Even before you identify your potential yourself, they give you that platform. So it also comes from a space of good leadership. So that is also quite commendable. So that's also going to be coming up.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm sitting with the PR manager and chief agronomist, all those titles. So it means they're doing very well. And thank you so much for sharing all these nuggets. I think we're going to spend a day here. We'll also call you again so that we can share more to help our farmers. Remember what she said, farming is a business. It also needs to be studied. Prayers only won't make your crops grow. Exactly. You need also to learn. You pray first, then you go and learn, then you plant, you harvest. If those principles are missing, that's when you start thinking that in our Shona culture, ninguya akarombera kurima. But no, it's not like that. It's putting manure, he's putting his fertilizer, and you're saving your fertilizer. That's why you're not getting the ideal yield. And I think for the guys who are in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, I think Malawi, probably South Africa, we are having a very good rain season. Indeed. And farmers should be celebrating. And if farmers are celebrating, our economy also celebrates. Our GDP also is positive. So I need you farmers, everyone who is having a farm, and also those who are also treating farming as any other business. Let us start treating it as a business. Farming has got a lot of money. It's the backbone of our African economy. And I want you guys to comment and also ask, or also share when these details, so that you guys we can continue with this conversation on a platform. And also on my platform, I think she has got on a platform, it's Wendy Madzura on all the platforms. And we can share the conversation, continue the conversation. 2026 is supposed to be a productive year for farmers, for business, and for the African continent. Until next time, it's Jerry Zungu, the Chartered Vendor out.